The battlefield was quiet. Smoke floated in the air like ghostly shadows. The sky was dark with ash. Broken machines, burned trees, and shattered weapons lay across the land. The war had ended here, but not long ago. Eli Carter, a young human soldier, walked slowly through the wreckage. His boots crunched on burnt metal and dried blood. He held his rifle close, finger near the trigger. His eyes scanned the area. He had seen too much death to relax now. The bodies of both humans and aliens lay around him. Some were half buried in dirt, others were still holding weapons in frozen hands. A few fires still burned, lighting up twisted faces and broken helmets. Eli's heart was heavy. This was supposed to be a victory. But it didn't feel like one. He moved closer to a pile of alien bodies, the Gorak species. Tall, powerful, covered in thick armor-like skin. The Gorak had fought hard. Many had died with honor. Eli had seen them tear through entire squads. Suddenly, a sound. Very soft thump. Eli stopped, his rifle aimed at the pile. He listened. Thump. Thump. Something was moving. Eli stepped carefully over the debris, his breath held tight in his chest. Then he saw it. A large arm, dark blue and covered in wounds, twitching under the bodies. One of them was alive. He pulled the other bodies off, one by one. His heart pounded. Finally, he saw the face. It was Karoth, the infamous Gorak war leader. Eli had seen his face on war briefings. Karoth had led the enemy attack on Outpost 17. Many humans had died because of him. Now he was barely breathing. Blood poured from his chest. His armor was cracked. One of his arms looked broken. He should have been dead. Somehow, he was still alive. Eli raised his rifle, hand shaking slightly. This was his chance. He could kill the alien right now. No one would blame him, in fact. People would cheer. He would be called a hero. Karoth had killed hundreds, but before Eli could pull the trigger, Karoth opened his eyes. Not fully. It was just enough. And then he spoke, not in his own language, but in English. "You are not like them," he whispered. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. Eli froze. What did that mean? The alien coughed. Blood came out of his mouth. "You didn't?" "Shoot," Karoth said, his eyes barely open. "You could have, but you didn't." Eli stared at him. "Why are you speaking English?" he asked, confused and alert. Karoth gave a weak smile. "Learned. Before the war, you must understand your enemy." To fight him, Eli lowered the rifle just a little. "Why are you still alive?" he asked. "Your people are gone. You lost." Karoth looked at the sky. His voice was faint. "They left me. Left all of us. I was betrayed. Not by you. By my own kind." Eli didn't know what to say. He looked at the dying alien. A warlord. A killer. But now, he just looked tired. Broken. Alone. A memory flashed in Eli's mind. His own friend Tom, dying in his arms during the first attack. He had sworn revenge that day. But now he felt something else. Pity? No. Something deeper. "Why should I help you?" Eli asked, his voice hard. "After everything you did?" Karoth's eyes met his. "Because you are still human." A long silence followed. In the distance, thunder rolled. Eli looked around. Number. One was nearby. His cums were dead. He was alone. No one would know what he did next. He reached into his med kit. "You move wrong, I'll shoot you," Eli warned. Karoth didn't move. "I trust you, soldier." Eli shook his head. "Don't. I don't even trust myself." He began patching the alien's wounds, wrapping bandages, giving painkillers. His hands moved automatically like he was working on another human soldier. Training had kicked in. Karoth winced but said nothing. "You're lucky I still have." "Supplies," Eli muttered. "You're lucky I didn't kill you," Karoth replied. For a second, they both smiled just a little, but behind that small moment was a sea of questions. Why did Karoth speak English? Why was he left behind? Did Eli feel connected? He didn't know the answers yet, but something told him. This was just the beginning, and something deep in his gut whispered. A warning. This war wasn't what it seemed. Asterisk, the cold wind touched Eli's face as he leaned against a broken pillar, his eyes watching the alien before him. The night had fully arrived, bringing with it silence and shadows. In the darkness, Kareth's breathing had slowed, but it hadn't stopped. That surprised Eli. The alien should be dead. No soldier, human, or Gorak had taken wounds like that and lived. And yet Karoth lay there, chest rising and falling in stubborn defiance, as if death had knocked, and Karoth had simply refused to answer the door. Eli didn't know why. He had saved him. Logic said it was stupid. This creature had led attacks against human colonies. Eli had read the reports, seen the images, held the dog tags of fallen friends. Karoth was not a victim. He was a destroyer. But now he looked like neither. He looked like a tired warrior, betrayed, broken, and left behind. Eli couldn't sleep. He sat near the wreckage of a dropship, the firelight flickering across his armor. He stared into the flames, his thoughts tangled. His hand still rested near his rifle, but he hadn't aimed it again. Something had changed, not just out here. On this battlefield, but inside him, still watching me, came a voice weak, but calm. Eli turned his head. Karoth was awake again, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You should rest," Eli replied, keeping his tone guarded. "I rest." "When the fight is over," Karoth said with a faint smile, "and this fight is far from over." Eli studied him for a moment. "Your people left you. You said they betrayed you." "Why?" Karoth was silent for a while. His gaze went distant, as if he were remembering something heavy. I questioned. "The invasion," he finally said. "I said humans were not our enemy, only a mirror. We destroy because we fear. But fear is a poison. I tried to stop them. They called me weak, and still, you led them into battle." Kareth gave a slow nod. "I tried to protect those who would not listen. It was the only way I could limit the bloodshed. But in the end, they saw even that as failure." Eli didn't answer right away. His thoughts drifted to command briefings, propaganda broadcasts, news reports claiming all Gorak were bloodthirsty monsters. No one had ever said anything about civil divisions, internal arguments, or someone like Karoth, a warrior who had tried to stop the killing. He wasn't sure he believed it yet. But it was enough to make him question what he'd been told. A sharp buzz cracked through the silence. Eli quickly tapped his combs. Static. Broken again. Still nothing. He muttered, "Your army will not come," Karoth said. "Not here. Not now." Eli narrowed his eyes. "Why do you say that?" "'Cause I know how your leaders think," Karoth whispered. "This place is marked as lost territory. They will not waste resources to search it. They will call us dead and move on." "Even me?" Eli asked. Karoth looked him in the eye. "You helped me. That makes you expendable." A chill ran through Eli's spine, not from the cold, but from something deeper. He hated how that sounded possible. Command had changed over the years. The longer the war dragged on, the more ruthless. Their orders became... Sometimes Eli wondered who they were fighting for anymore. "I have to get you out of here," Eli said suddenly, surprising even himself. Karoth blinked slowly. "Why?" "I don't know," Eli replied. "Maybe to find answers, because if we both die here, no one will hear the truth." Karoth exhaled. "Then I will walk, if my legs allow it. Or crawl, if they don't." Eli reached into his pack and pulled out a stim injector. He hesitated, then stabbed it into Karoth's neck. The alien flinched, but soon his muscles twitched, and his eyes became more alert. "It won't last long," Eli warned. "We'll have maybe 1 hour before the pain returns." Karoth slowly pushed himself up, groaning in agony, but managing to sit upright. His massive frame looked smaller now, hunched and damaged. But there was still strength beneath the wounds. They moved just before dawn. Step by step, Eli helped Karoth across the ruined terrain. They passed the skeleton of a crashed drone, a field of craters, and a rusted tank half buried in ash. Birds had returned to the sky. That seemed wrong. After some distance, they reached a narrow gorge one Eli remembered from the first deployment. If they could make it through, they'd reach a relay station. Maybe it still worked, maybe not. But it was the only hope they had. Karoth stumbled. Eli caught him. "You shouldn't carry me," the alien said, voice low. "I'm not," Eli replied. "I'm just making sure you don't die before I get my answers." Karoth chuckled. "Fair enough." Then, suddenly movement. Across the ridge above, 3 figures appeared. Not GOR-RAC, humans, but not Eli's unit. The uniforms were black. No insignia, no flags. Eli's heart sank. "Special Forces," he whispered. "The kind sent to erase problems quietly, and now." They had found theirs. The wind was sharper at the ridge, cold, dry, and filled with danger. Eli's body tensed as the 3 black uniformed figures at the top of the hill raised their weapons. He knew immediately these weren't normal soldiers. No names, no flags, no hesitation. These were the kind of operatives trained to clean up loose ends quietly, permanently. Karoth moved beside him, wobbling but alert. His eyes narrowed. "Friends of yours?" "No," Eli said. "Not even close." One of the soldiers stepped forward, rifle pointed straight at Eli. "Corporal Eli Carter," he called out, voice calm but cold. "You violated direct engagement protocol. You're assisting a hostile. Stand down." Now Eli didn't move. "This isn't a hostile." He surrendered. "He's wounded. He needs medical evac." "That's not your call," the man replied. "HQ has already marked the Gorak as kill in sight. You know the rule." "He was left behind," Eli snapped. "By both sides. He's not a threat anymore." He's a war criminal." The soldier interrupted. "And now you're harboring him? That makes you part of the problem." Eli's hand hovered near his weapon, but he didn't draw it. Not yet. His mind raced. He'd be dead in seconds. If he didn't, Karoth would be executed. Either way, they weren't walking out peacefully. Then Karoth did something unexpected. He stepped forward. His legs were shaky, his breath short, but he raised his hands. "I do not seek violence," he said in clear English. "I only seek the truth." The soldiers looked stunned for a moment. Gorak didn't speak English, not unless they were trained spies. But this one, he spoke with clarity, with reason, almost like a man. "Back off," one of the soldiers barked, panic rising in his voice. "Back away now." "I was a warrior," Karoth said. "I led my kind into battle, yes. But I was also lied to, just like you." That triggered something in Eli. He looked up at the soldiers. "What are you talking about?" he asked Karoth. "Lied to? By who?" Karoth turned to Eli, breathing heavier now. "Your commander's ours too. The war was never meant to be won, only prolonged." "That's insane," Eli muttered. "Why would anyone want that? To sell weapons, to gain power, to keep fear alive," Karoth said slowly. "Fear makes people obey, and obedience makes them easy to control." Eli felt the ground shift beneath his beliefs. He thought of the strange orders, the missions that didn't make sense, the sudden silence after major victories, the long delays in rescue missions, and now, the Special Forces team aiming at him. He looked back at them. "Who sent you?" Eli demanded. "Command? Or someone higher?" The lead soldier didn't answer. Instead, he lowered his visor and simply said, "Final warning. Step away from the Gorak." Eli's finger tightened around his rifle, and then everything happened. At once, Karoth spun, grabbed Eli, and threw him behind a metal slab. Bullets tore through the dirt where Eli had just stood. The alien's strength was back, not full, but enough. He roared, grabbed a broken piece of steel, and charged like a wounded beast. He caught one soldier by surprise, slamming him down. The slope with bone-breaking force. Eli rolled to cover, opened fire, and hit the second soldier in the leg. Sparks and blood sprayed into the air. The third soldier vanished behind a rock, using stealth tech. Eli couldn't see him, but he could feel the danger. Karoth took 2 shots to the side but kept moving. His breathing was labored, but his eyes burned with fury. For revenge, for justice. The invisible soldier reappeared behind Eli, knife in hand, but Karoth tackled him from the side, sending both rolling into the dirt. Eli turned and aimed but hesitated. He didn't have to pull the trigger. Caw. Roth had already snapped the soldier's blade arm and knocked him out cold. Silence returned. The fight lasted less than a minute, but it felt like an hour. Eli stood. Slowly, breathing hard, his body shaking with adrenaline. "You okay?" he asked. Karoth grunted. "I will survive." They searched the bodies. No ID tags, no data chips. Just one small encrypted drive hidden in the leader's vest. Eli held it up. "What do you think is on this?" Proof, Karoth said. "Or a death sentence." They didn't stay to find out. They burned the bodies, buried the tech, and moved east, toward the old cum station Eli remembered from his first tour. It would be risky, but if they could unlock the data, they might find out who wanted them dead, and why. As they walked, Eli asked quietly, "What really happened between your people and ours?" Karoth didn't answer at first. Then he said, "We were told that humans attacked first. A science vessel, destroyed without warning. Children dead. Mothers screaming." Eli frowned. "That's what we were told about your side." Karoth gave him a look. "One of us is lying. Or, both of us are being lied to." That idea sat like a stone in Eli's chest. They traveled in silence for hours. The sky turned orange with morning light. Birds sang again, unaware of the blood that had been spilled just meters below them. When they finally reached the old relay station, it looked abandoned. Broken windows, a collapsed roof, dust everywhere. But the console inside still blinked. Faintly, Eli powered it up. Static. Then a code screen. He tried 3-access. Passwords. Nothing worked. Karoth stepped forward. He typed something strange. Symbols Eli didn't recognize. The screen turned green. "How?" "I helped design this system," Karoth said quietly. "Before I was made into a monster." Folder opened. Thousands of files. War logs. Hidden orders, names, faces, plans, and one message marked top. Secret. Eli opened it. What he read made his blood run cold. "They planned the whole war," he whispered. "Years before it started, both sides." He turned to Karoth. "They used us. They used everyone." Karoth closed his eyes. "Now we show the galaxy the truth, but outside, someone was already watching them, and their time was running out." The station was silent, but something in the air had changed. Eli could feel it. A chill at the back of his neck, pressure in the air, like the moment before a storm. He sat back from the console, heart racing. The decrypted file still glowed on the cracked screen, displaying dates, codes, and recorded conversations. It was all there. Every order, every setup. The betrayal. The proof that humanity's high command and the Gorak elite had never intended peace. They had fueled the war, shaped it, extended it for weapons testing, political power, and profit. Soldiers on both sides had been nothing more than pawns in a game, already decided before the first shot was fired. Eli couldn't breathe. Karoth stood beside him, silent, staring at the screen. The weight in his eyes wasn't shock. It was confirmation. He had known, or at least suspected, long before now. "This," Eli whispered, voice dry. "This changes everything." "No," Karoth said quietly. "This reveals everything. The truth was always there. We were simply not allowed to see it." Eli leaned forward, shaking his head. "I followed orders, killed for those orders. My friends died for them." Karoth didn't answer. He didn't need to. Outside, faint metallic crack echoed. Eli froze. That wasn't wind. He moved to the window slowly, careful not to step on the loose tile beneath him. The sun was rising behind the hills, but shadows moved at their edges. Black. Figures, low, coordinated, silent, not wildlife, not survivors, hunters. "They found us," Eli muttered. Karoth's eyes narrowed. "Then we must leave. Now." They grabbed what little gear they had and rushed out the back of the station. Behind them, the silent soldiers moved in, covering the exits like wolves circling prey. But Eli and Karoth had already vanished into the overgrowth. The ground beyond the station was steep and uneven, full of trenches and abandoned bunkers from an old battle years ago. Eli knew the terrain well. He had almost died here once before. It might just save him now. They ran. Not fast. Karoth was still weak. Eli's gear slowed him, but steady, controlled. Every step calculated, every breath timed. Every few seconds, Eli glanced behind them. They were being tracked, not just by movement sensors, but by scent, heat, sound. "These aren't normal ops," Eli whispered. "These are ghost teams. No comes, no noise, no mercy." "They were never meant to ask questions," Karoth said, gasping between steps. "Only to erase." They ducked into a half-buried trench, crawling through muck and ash. The smell of old blood and rust filled their noses. Eli held his rifle tight, scanning the darkness. Suddenly, Karoth pulled him down. A dart flew over them, silent and fast, embedding in the wall with a faint hiss. Poison, they waited, breathing shallow. Footsteps passed above. Eli counted 3, maybe 4 figures, then silence again. They moved. Hours passed like this: crawl, hide, run, again and again. The hunters never spoke, never stopped. It was a slow game of pressure, designed to wear them down. By nightfall, Eli and Karoth reached a long-forgotten outpost built into the cliffs. It had no power, no doors, no defenses, just stone and memory. But it was sheltered inside. Eli dropped to the floor, exhausted. Karoth leaned against the wall, blood leaking from a reopened wound. He didn't complain. Eli pulled out the data. "Chip, it was still there, everything they'd risked their lives for. I don't even know where to take this," he said. "The media's controlled. The military won't listen. Anyone I show this to will either laugh or kill me." Karoth looked up slowly. "Then we find someone who cannot be bought." "That's a short list," Eli replied. "There is one place," Karoth said. "Your outer colonies, the ones that refuse to take sides. If they see the truth, they will spread it. Not through governments, through people." Eli nodded. "But they're weeks away, and we survive for weeks," Karoth said. Eli almost laughed. "Easy." For a while, they just sat in the quiet. Then Karoth spoke again, softer this time. "Do you hate me?" Eli looked at him. "I did," he answered. "I hated everything you stood for. I wanted to kill you the moment I saw you breathing." Karoth didn't respond. He just listened. "But now, I don't know," Eli continued. "Maybe I still should. Maybe we both should have died back there. But if everything in that file is true, then this war was never about you and me." "No," Karoth said. "It was about keeping us apart. Because if we talk, we might learn the truth." They locked eyes. Enemy and enemy. Now brothers in survival. Suddenly, a sharp beeping sound cut through the air. Eli's eyes widened. Motion sensor. They both jumped to their feet. Outside the bunker, silent shapes were approaching again. More this time. Not 3, not 4, at least a dozen. "They called in reinforcements," Eli said. "No," Karoth whispered. "They called for elimination." A low humming noise filled the air, then dash boom. The side of the mountain shook. Dirt and stone rained from the ceiling. "They're collapsing the cliffs," Eli shouted. The entire bunker trembled. Rocks fell. The entrance behind them caved in. Karoth grabbed the chip, shoved it into a sealed compartment on his armor. "No matter what happens," he said, "this truth must survive." "You're not dying here," Eli said. They turned to the far side of the bunker, a narrow shaft, half buried in rubble. It led into the forgotten tunnels. No light, no exit, but it was their only chance. As the mountain roared in fire, swallowed the sky, Eli and Karoth vanished into the dark, hunted, betrayed, but alive, and somewhere ahead, in the shadows, was their only chance to expose the truth. Asterisk, the tunnels were cold and endless. Eli's boots echoed on metal as he moved. Through the darkness, guiding Karath with one hand and holding a flashlight with the other, the light flickered across old support beams, rusted pipes, and ancient warning signs no one had read in decades. He didn't know where they were. It's only that they were far beneath the surface now, under a mountain once used for secret operations, and now being buried by their enemies. The air smelled of oil, dust, and damp stone. Sometimes the walls groaned. Sometimes it was silence so deep it felt like the world above had stopped existing. But the two kept going. Karath leaned on Eli's shoulder, breathing hard but still walking. The painkillers were wearing off again. His side bled through. The bandages. He didn't complain. "Any idea where we're heading?" Eli asked, voice low. "There should be an exit." Miles ahead, Karath answered. "A forgotten port, supply base for old shuttle routes. And if it's not there, then we die underground," Karath said without hesitation. Eli nodded once. "Great." He walked in silence. After that, not because there was nothing to say, because the words didn't matter anymore. We were both thinking the same thing. Everything had changed. Hours passed, maybe more. Time lost meaning, then finally a distant light, not from Eli's flashlight, a real one, dim. Flickering but unmistakable, they picked up their pace. Karath nearly collapsed twice, but Eli kept him upright at the end of the tunnel they found. A large steel door partly open. Inside, a small dead control room. Screens cracked. Chairs rusted. But one console still glowed faint green, and beside it, a solar-powered relay drone blinking softly. "Looks like someone used this place recently," Eli muttered. He activated the drone, connected the drive Karath had hidden earlier, and began transmitting encrypted copies of the war files. It would take time, but once uploaded, the signal would bounce between satellites and eventually hit the neutral colonies. Then the truth would spread, unless someone stopped them first. Karath dropped to one knee, exhausted. Eli kneeled beside him. "You need rest," Eli said. Karath shook his head. "No rest. Not yet. There is one more thing I must show you." He pulled out a data shard, a memory unit, handcrafted, not military. "This holds my personal records," Karath explained. "Messages, meetings, conversations with your leaders." Eli froze. "Wait, with our leaders?" Karath nodded. "Before the war began, I was sent to speak with them, to prevent bloodshed. I came in peace. I was told they would listen." Handed the shard to Eli. "When I arrived," Karath continued, "they'd already prepared the battlefield. The peace talks were a trap. I was branded a spy and sent back humiliated." The war began 2 weeks later. Eli's hands clenched around the shard. "What names are on this?" he asked, but he already knew. Karath looked him in the eye. "General Hasker." Eli stood up slowly. His breath turned heavy. "That's not possible." "It is," Karath said. "He was there. He made the deal. He helped both sides start the war and made sure it could never end." Eli turned away, trying to breathe. General Hasker wasn't just a name to him. Hasker had been his mentor, his first commanding officer, the man who pinned his badge, the one who told him after his brother died he was a hero, and now it's your turn. He had trusted him with his life. "He's the reason I enlisted," Eli said quietly. "He's the reason so many died," Karath replied. The silence that followed was sharp and suffocating. Eli walked to the edge of the room, looked through the broken glass window at the forgotten shuttle pads outside, old platforms covered in moss and dust. "I need to know the truth," he whispered. "You have it," Karath said. "No," Eli said, turning. "I need to see him. I need to hear it from his own mouth." Karath frowned. "That is dangerous." "Yeah," Eli said. "But if I don't face him, I'll never believe it." Karath stood with difficulty. "Then we go together." Eli shook his head. "No, you're injured. You won't make it through another mission." Karath stepped forward anyway. This is not your burden alone. We walk this road together." Eli was about to argue, but then a voice spoke from behind them. A slow clap echoed in the room. "Well," said the voice, cold and familiar. "This is awkward." Eli spun around, rifle raised. Standing at the doorway, dressed in high-grade combat armor, Spotless.com, was General Hasker. Older now, hair gray, eyes colder than steel. But unmistakable. He walked in without fear, flanked by two silent guards. Karoth tensed, baring his teeth. Eli froze. Hasker looked at both of them with the calm of a man who had already won. "I thought you were dead," he said to Eli, as if disappointed. "I was supposed to be," Eli replied. "And yet here you are, helping the enemy, betraying your kind." "I'm helping the truth," Eli said. Hasker smiled. "There's no truth in war, Eli, only sides. And whoever controls the story controls the future." Eli stepped forward. "Did you do it? Did you start this war?" Hasker didn't flinch. Made a decision the galaxy wasn't brave enough to make. Unity through conflict. Purpose through fear. Chaos is nature. War gives us order. "You lied," Eli growled. "You used us. I shaped history," Hasker said. "And if that offends you, then I guess I trained you too well." Karoth growled. "You dishonor every warrior who died for your lies." Hasker looked at him like a bug. "You're still breathing, Karoth." "What a shame." He raised his hand. The guards lifted their rifles, but before they could shoot, Karoth threw himself in front of Eli. Gunfire exploded. Eli returned fire, stropping one guard. Karoth fell, blood pouring from his chest. Eli tackled the second. Guard knocked him out, then turned to Hasker, but the general was gone. Smoke filled the room. The coward had fled. Eli ran to Karoth's side. The alien coughed blood, smiled faintly. "You saw his face," Karoth said. "Now you know." "Don't die on me," Eli whispered. "There are more like him," Karoth said. "But there will be more like you too, warriors of truth." Eli held his hand, and Karoth, the fallen, the enemy who had become something more, finally closed his eyes. Outside, the dawn was rising again, but Eli. Carter was no longer a soldier. He was something else now. A rebel. With a war to finish. Asterisk Eli Carter buried. Karoth at dawn. The grave was shallow, carved in rocky soil behind the old shuttle port. He had no tombstone, no flag, no ceremony. Only a name. Carved into rusted metal with a knife. Karoth, warrior. Betrayed. Remembered. The wind whispered through the ruins. The war still echoed, even here. But something had changed. Karoth was gone, and Eli was not the same man anymore. He placed the alien's memory shard in a sealed case and strapped it to his chest, next to his heart. He didn't cry, and there was no time for that. He had a war to finish. For the first time in his life, he wasn't fighting for a flag or a uniform, or a general's orders. He was fighting for the truth. 2 days later, Eli hijacked a supply drone headed toward the outer colonies. It wasn't easy. Fought 2 guards, jammed the tracking beacon, and bypassed a retinal lock using a piece of tech Karoth had modified before he died. As the drone took off into orbit, Eli looked down at the shattered world behind him. The same world he once swore to protect. It no longer felt like home. He wasn't running. He was aiming higher. Toward revenge, toward rebellion, and toward the only place left that still believed in freedom. On the fringe colony of Hellions Reach, people didn't ask questions. They didn't trust Central Command or alien councils or polished broadcasts. They lived hard, worked harder, and believed only what they could see. So when Eli Carter arrived, and wearing blood-stained armor and carrying a data drive that could burn governments to the ground, the colony leaders listened. The truth spread like wildfire. Hasker's war-for-profit scheme. The arranged betrayals. The files showing Gorok and human elites had been shaking hands while soldiers died in trenches. Old veterans spat on the ground. Farmers dropped their tools. Mercenaries volunteered, without asking for pay. Asterisk. Within weeks, Eli had a force, not an army, but a movement. He called them the Witnesses because they had seen what others refused to see. They didn't wave flags or wear shiny uniforms. They wore scars, dust, and a single emblem stitched. In black thread, a sword broken in two. Glowing with light from the cracks, they hit fast and silent. Destroyed broadcast towers, hacked propaganda channels, freed prisoners. Marked for erasure, they leaked the files onto every black market newsfeed they could reach. The galaxy stirred. Some laughed. Some called it fake. But others, thousands, started to believe. And the name Eli Carter became something more to some. He was a traitor. To others, a myth. But to those still fighting for truth, he was the only hope left. General Hasker wasn't hiding anymore. He was preparing in a classified facility known only as Outpost Zero, hidden on a dead moon behind a shield grid. He gathered the last of his loyalists, men and women who owed him everything and would kill for his silence. He had built a weapon. Not a bomb, not a virus, but a broadcast system. Machine that could flood the galaxy with one final message, a lie so powerful, would erase every truth Eli had bled for. A message blaming the war on Karoth and Eli Carter. Labeling the Witnesses as terrorists, marking every colony that believed them as enemies of peace. And once that message launched, Hasker would unleash a cleansing strike, total planetary wipe, order through fire. He whispered to himself, standing in the control chamber. One final purge. But Hasker had forgotten one thing. The truth doesn't die easy, especially when someone like Eli carries it. The Witnesses stormed Outpost Zero under a dying red sky. The plan wasn't clean. It wasn't smart. It was desperate. But it worked. Eli led the charge in scavenged armor. Carrying Karoth's ceremonial blade on his back and a pulse rifle in hand, he fought like a ghost of two worlds, half soldier, half legend. They breached the outer gates. EMP mines fried half their systems. But they kept going. A sniper nearly took Eli down. But an old miner named Juno tackled him out of the way and took the shot instead. She died smiling. Inside, they moved fast. Clearing halls, cutting power lines, dodging traps. Eli didn't care about the cameras. He wanted Hasker to see him coming. When they reached the core chamber, Hasker was already there, calm, waiting beside his machine. His face appeared on every screen, speaking to the galaxy. "This is General Hasker." The recording began. "The war is not over." "The traitor, Eli Carter." Eli shot the console. The screen exploded. "You never change," Hasker said, stepping out of the shadows, still choosing chaos. "No," Eli said, walking forward. "I'm choosing truth." They faced each other, two warriors in different uniforms. "Same blood. No one will remember you," Hasker said. "I don't need to be remembered," Eli replied. "I just need you to fall." They fought. Not like soldiers, like animals' ears. Of betrayal burned into every punch. Every strike was personal. Eli was faster, younger, but Hasker was trained, ruthless. He nearly broke Eli's arm, smashed his visor, almost stabbed him in the throat. Almost Eli remembered Karoth's final words. "There will be more like you." He headbutted Hasker, grabbed the ceremonial blade, and drove it into his former general's chest. Not with rage, with justice. Hasker fell, eyes wide, mouth silent. The lie died with him. Later, Eli uploaded the raw truth. Every file, every name, every order. The galaxy burned, but not from war, from awakening. People rose. Soldiers refused corrupt orders. Colonies united peace. Talks began, this time real. No cameras, no lies. Eli didn't stay to take credit. He left the spotlight. He returned to Karoth's grave and left the broken blade there. Not as a weapon, but as a symbol, a promise that even in war, truth will always find its way back. Asterisk, the stars were quiet again. No gunfire, no alarms. No soldiers hiding behind ruined walls. just the endless silence of space, glowing with distant lights, as if the universe itself was watching, waiting, listening. Eli Carter stood on the observation deck of a neutral colony station far beyond the inner planets. Behind him, engineers repaired solar panels. Doctors tidied the wounded. Civilians from both sides, human and Gorak, now worked shoulder to shoulder. It was strange. Peace was not as loud as war, but it was heavier, the kind of weight you'd carry in your bones after the fighting stops. When the noise is gone and the memories stay behind, Eli had survived the rebellion. He had exposed the truth. He had helped stop the last broadcast, the final lie. But what came next? He never planned for that. A small girl with silver eyes walked up beside him, holding a drawing. She looked human, but her ears were sharp, and her skin carried a faint shimmer, part of a new generation, born from unity, mixed, whole. "I made this," she said shyly. Eli took the drawing. It showed two figures, one human, one alien, standing together, hands raised. Above them was a broken sword, glowing with stars. "What's this?" he asked gently. "The heroes," she said. "It's the ones who stopped the war." Eli smiled, though his eyes watered. "You know their names?" he asked. "Everyone does," she whispered. "Eli Carter, and the alien warrior who saved him. Kadoth." The name lived now in murals and stories and the way soldiers trained their recruits. It was spoken not with fear, but with respect. Eli had made sure of that. After the war ended, the witnesses disbanded, not in defeat, but because their mission was done. They weren't meant to rule, only to reveal. They left behind no throne, no army, no flag, just a trail of truth. Some became teachers. Some returned to lost homes. Others simply vanished. Eli stayed in the shadows, refused medals, turned down leadership offers. He helped where needed, fixing machines, healing wounds, calming angry talks between species still, learning how to speak without bullets. He wasn't searching for glory. He was looking for peace. But peace, he learned, isn't something you find, it's something you build, brick by brick, story by story. And it takes time. Some days were hard. Veterans struggled to forgive. Propaganda still echoed in dark corners of the net. Scars still ran deep, but slowly, change came. One colony rebuilt their school with help from former enemies. Another elected a Gorak translator as mayor. A joint crew explored a dead planet not for conquest, but for knowledge. Eli watched quietly, and Kareth's voice stayed in his mind. "If we talk, we might learn the truth." It had taken war, blood, sacrifice. But now they were finally talking. One day, Eli received a message. It came from the Gorak homeworld. Now under a new council, young leaders rising from the ruins of empire, they had created a circle of honor, not for soldiers, but for those who fought for peace. Karath was to be honored, and they wanted Eli to attend. At first, he didn't reply. He didn't want more praise. He had said goodbye. But something in him pulled forward. He thought of Ka. Roth's last breath. He thought of the blade buried in the soil of that forgotten world, and he knew. Some goodbyes must be spoken twice. The Gorak world was different than what humans had been shown in propaganda. It wasn't fire and fury. It was mountains carved with stories. Trees that sang in the wind. Cities built into cliffs, glowing blue at night. And when Eli arrived, no one raised a weapon. They bowed, not in worship, not in fear, but in respect. The circle of honor was held. Under a stone archway shaped like wings, the symbol of Karath's clan. Elders stood in silence as a young Gorak warrior lit the ceremonial flame. A translator offered Eli the stage. He stepped up slowly, heart beat loud in his chest. Thousands watched, not just in person, across worlds, across species. He didn't give a speech. He told a story of a battlefield, of a dying alien whispering in English, of a soldier who didn't pull the trigger, of trust born in ashes, and of a warrior who gave his life to protect the truth. When he finished, there was no applause, only stillness, the kind of silence that says everything. The young Gorak warrior stepped forward, holding something wrapped in cloth. Karoth's blade returned from the soil where it had once been buried, restored, polished but still cracked, its center glowing with blue light, not from fire, but from memory. Eli accepted it with both hands, and in that moment he felt something ease inside him. Not pride, not glory, just peace. Real peace, the kind Roth had dreamed of, the kind he had died for, the kind Eli would now carry not as a soldier, but as a witness. Years passed. The story of the war became legend, but in every version told, one truth remained unchanged, that two enemies once met on a battlefield and chose not to kill, and by choosing not to kill, they saved a galaxy.